In this video, we'll be taking a deep dive into the orange level of the special education reading intervention. In this intervention, much like the others, everything on the left-hand side of the page stays the same day after day. The routine of reading a passage, finding sight words and decodable words, and answering comprehension questions is the same day after day. On the right-hand side of the page, though, the activities will vary and work on other skills such as sentence writing, fluency, grammar, things of that nature. So let's start with explaining the left-hand side of the page, and I'll do this once, but you'll know that day after day it will be the same. Then I'll explain the right-hand side of what we do with this. So with our sight words, these are words that are not decodable, or maybe they would be at a later point, such as learning the AY sound. But when you're in kindergarten or first grade, you don't know that AY says A. And so you need to learn that as more of a sight word. And so with this, I have some flashcards that I hold up for my students that also say the word, so that if they're not looking in their book, it can be held up in front of them. And then we stretch our arms out and we tap the word on our arm. So every letter will tap and say N-O-T, not, N-O-T, not, N-O-T, not. And we might say that 2 to 5 times, depending on, is it a word that we've had many, many times? Is it a newer word? Is it something that just hasn't stuck? Maybe we've done it several times, but a good chunk of the students are not retaining that. Then we might do it a few more times. After we tap the word 2 to 5 times, I'll say, find the word not. So we use our blue highlighter and we find the word not. Then we'll move on and find the word and. We'll tap it on our arm once again, and then we'll find the word and. Some of these are here multiple times. Sometimes it's just once. It really kind of varies depending on the words that are in the text. We'll find all of our blue words. Some kids are really good at this. This is a strength for them. And so where maybe decoding words might be a weakness or recalling the sight words, they're really good at visually scanning. And so this can be a strength for them. A lot of times I call it out and I'll be like, oh, I can always count on her to help me find those words. We all know I overlook them sometimes, and they're good at helping me with those words. Then I'll say, switch to green. And so then my students will switch to their green highlighter. Green words are decodable words. They're words that we can stretch. So later when we're reading them, we'll say, oh, I don't know this word, but it is green. Let's say the sounds in the word. And so with this, I always start by saying, ooh, I see an SL. Somebody remind me, what does SL say? And a lot of times, half of the group, or, 4/5 of the group, or 2/3 of the group will say sl, and they'll remember what that sound says. Then I'll say, pound the word with me. So their finger is looking at the word, and then we say slab, slab. Okay, slab. See if you can find the word slab. Now the catch with our green words is that of these 4 words, usually, sometimes there are exceptions, but usually only a couple of the words are there. So we're going to look for slab and we're going to realize, oh, that word isn't there. So we're going to give it an X. But if I look at this next word here, and we talk about this, we go through, we start looking for things that are the same. Well, they both have this SL blend. Remind me, what did SL say? And they'll tell me SL says sl. Then I'll say, oh my gosh, they also have a B at the end. They end the same. The only difference is the vowel. And now that I've been doing this for about a year with my students, they're calling it out for me. I don't even have to ask. They're saying, oh, look at this. They have different vowel sounds. They have the same beginning sound. These are rhyming words because they have the same ending sound. And so I'll ask them again to pound the word, and we'll say slob, slob. Okay, see if you can find the word slob. I see it in the title. Usually we talk about why it has a capital letter, but oh, here it doesn't have a capital letter. Or if it was at the beginning of a sentence, we call out all of those things. And this word, or this section, is one of those exceptions where usually it's 2 that are there and 2 that are not. But because Bob and Sam were both decodable, we have both of them in our story. Can't forget about the title. And so we highlight everywhere that we see their names. Now, what makes this nice, and again, sometimes I say, I'll be like, oh gosh, guys, we know so many of these words. So many of these are sight words or words that we can stretch, plus some others that we've learned before, like to and is and I. And so we talk about a lot of that. After we have found our sight words, found our decodable words, then it's time to read. And so every student or every chair at my table has a pencil cup, and inside their pencil cup has the 2 highlighters that I just used. And they also have 4 markers. Now, we only need 3, but usually I say you don't have to like all 4, but you have to pick 3 of the 4 that we're going to use. And so then one at a time we'll read, and first the cap stays on their marker and they are only pointing. We use it as our pointer. And a lot of times our first smiley face is me reading and my students just following along. And so after we finish, they color in their first smiley face. Then I'll say, choose another marker. And a lot of times I count down. I'll say, meet me at the top with a new marker in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And so they'll meet me at the top. Then that time we might echo read, we might take turns reading, we might do a close read, and that varies depending on the time of year, the level of your students, what are they ready for? You want them to have a good experience with reading. Echo reading is a great way to get your students reading every day, even if it is just through imitation. But with that, we really talk about how you have to point to the words. So then they're seeing it, they're hearing it, they're saying it. You're incorporating as much as you can through an echo read. And when we're done, we color in our second smiley face. And then we're going to read it one more time. And again, sometimes that's taking turns reading. Sometimes that's whisper reading. Again, it varies depending on what they're actually ready for. And then we color in our last smiley face. Then again, I'll say, grab a pencil, meet me at number 1 in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then we'll read their comprehension questions aloud. And I'll give them some time to fill in those answers. And then I'll say, great job, guys. Yes, Bob does not like to play. I hope you picked B. And then, like I said, this just repeats every day, the same things. You're going to find your sight words, find your decodable words, read it 3 times, and answer some comprehension questions every day. Now, let's talk about the right-hand side of the page. On this side, every day at the beginning, we have a sentence of some sort, but our sentence has problems. So on day 1, the sentence is all mixed up. And so we talk about, well, how will I know what word goes first? Well, a capital letter goes at the beginning of the sentence. And the students will copy that down and exit out. And then we'll say, okay, we have Bob. Okay, Bob slob. Oh, no, but that has a period at the end, so it can't be Bob, because then where would is and a go? Oh, maybe it's Bob is a slob. These sentences are usually taken right from the story, so some kids use that as a guide. Some kids don't. Some kids really are good at starting to kind of pick through that sentence and see what's needed. So that is on day 1 and day 3 where we have a mixed up sentence. And on day 2, we have a sentence with 3, sometimes 4 mistakes, usually with capitalization, punctuation, or spelling of some of those sight words or decodable words, things that should be fresh in their mind, or again, they can copy from here. And so we start to look at what are the mistakes in the sentence, and then we circle and rewrite. And that is on all of our even days, 2 and 4. All right, we also in every book have a grammar skill. So here we're doing a noun hunt. We spiral through those for about 2 to 3 weeks, depending on the skill. And then at the halfway point in the series, after week 20, we go back, because we all know that a lot of our students need that constant review. And just because we've talked about nouns once doesn't mean we're quite ready and remembering it. So we come back to it. So we're going to circle 10 nouns that are in the word list here. And then I'm going to give them a sentence that they're going to try to write. We always start by counting the words in the sentence, and then some kids are ready after that. They can take off and do it. And then others need you to say, okay, Bob, and they're going to write Bob, is, then they'll write is, a, and then they write it. Others can hear it once and know that there are 4 words, and they're ready to write. It just depends. I've given some sentences in the lesson plans for you to use. But you might say, whoa, Amanda, that sentence is too hard. I'm not ready for that. Or you might be like, "Ugh, this is too easy. My kids could probably do something harder or more difficult." A lot of times I might reference the lesson plans, but I just kind of make it up on the fly based on what we've talked about, or how did they do with their spelling words that day, that kind of thing. On day 2, this is always a crowd favorite. They love to draw about whatever topic their little heart desires. They'll draw it, and usually I set a timer for about 3 minutes, and I let them draw. And I forbid them from writing at that point. I have a couple students who want to write. They want to get there. But I want them to focus on adding details and really thinking about all the things that would go in their picture. I don't want just a stick figure. I'm not the best artist, but still draw. What would the background be? What would the setting? Who else would be there? That kind of thing. We don't usually use any markers because it bleeds through the page, but if you wanted to give them time to color, you could. Oftentimes I do not. And then after that, we write sentences, usually 2. Some of my students are ready for more, but 2 sentences about their picture. Now, I don't spell every word for them. I might help them find a blue word, or I might help them find a green word. But there are some words that are just difficult, that are maybe content specific about whatever they drew. And so I write those on a Post-it note that then they can copy. But again, I don't give them every word. I just give them the ones that we couldn't stretch out together or that we couldn't find together. On day 3, then we do a fluency check, which for this I set my timer for about 30 seconds and ask them to read as much as they can. Whenever they're finished, I ask them to put a little marker there to show where they stopped. And then when they read again, they'll put another little mark where they stopped. And hopefully they're getting better and better each and every time. I also ask them to underline any words that they don't know. That way, whenever we're finished, so after the first read, I might say, okay, were there any words that you guys didn't know that I could help you with? That way, the next time you're going to be able to read that word. And so some kids are really good about this, and they underline a couple of words, they ask for help, and they improve. Others just kind of breeze right past them. And I think, again, that's a little bit of a learned strategy for them to get through a passage. And so when we're done, then I say, okay, you stopped here at Bob is. So I'll say 13, 14, 15 words. And so they'll write how many words they read. And then the next time I'll say, okay, 21, 22, 23, 24. You read 24 words. And then they write that number, hoping that we see growth. And we talk a lot about how important it is that you have growth, not that you make it to the end. I really don't care if you read 42 words in 30 seconds. I care, did you start low and get a little bit better and a little bit better? And we talk a lot about that. Then going back to grammar, we're going to X out all the words that are not nouns. So we kind of go through this. We make it fun. We'll be like, is that a noun? Oh, yes, it is. Okay, that's a check. Or yes, that's it. Thumbs up. But if it's not a noun, we'll say, no, it's not a noun. And we X it out. On day 3, this is a really important skill that I try never ever to skip or miss or shortchange, because I think that our students really can excel with practice at restating and answering a question. So it says, what does Bob not like to do? And a lot of times I ask that question and they spit out the answer right away, which is great. But what does Bob not like to do? We need to answer in more than like one word, play or run and play. And so we talk about, well, I can steal these words. Bob does not like to run and play. And so a lot of times I'll be goofy and I'll say, does that sound better? Bob does not like to run and play. Or somebody who says play, run and play. That doesn't sound as good as Bob does not like to run and play. And I always tell them, then we can take all these words and I don't have to worry about spelling or anything. And I'm going to take these words so I know how to spell everything that's there. And so it's painful at first. It takes us a little bit, but in time, they do get much, much better at that. And on day 4, we're going to do another fluency check. Again, same rules, same procedures. We are going to hunt for L blends, so I let them choose a highlighter or a marker of their choice and highlight all the words that have L blends. And then I ask them to whisper read those L blends to themselves. And so then I kind of listen in one student at a time as they read those, because I want to hear, we've worked on it for a week. How are you doing with that? Is it enough time to work on that? In this particular level, we work on L blends for 5 weeks, and then R blends for 5 weeks, and then S blends for 5 weeks. So sometimes week 1 might be a little miserable, but by week 3 or 4, I want to see how are they doing. So that's just my way to check in. You could also use that for progress monitoring. And then down below, we work on writing another sentence that's dictated. So again, I give you one in the lesson plans, and if that is too easy or too hard, feel free to make it up and adjust as you go. Now, Bob being a slob, where did those words come from? Well, I have some spelling words that go right along with this, and so some of our words here go right with that, and so they all have SL blends. Clap is in the word, slap is in here, a slab of ham is in the book. So all of the spelling words are incorporated right into the book, so that as students are practicing the book, they're reviewing, oh, well, that was a spelling word that we had. Or as we're doing spelling, they'll be like, oh, remember when Bob slapped Sam, or, you know, whatever. They're remembering some of those things. So it kind of incorporates the word knowledge, some of that vocabulary, gives them a reference point, and incorporates both reading and spelling together. So these can be used as separate interventions, but they work so beautifully together.